Okay, hello everyone. I'm Dora. I'm the organizer of this group. I hope you're all doing well today. So, welcome to our weekly Tuesday Connect. So, today I want to talk a little bit about Yoga Nidra. Um, for those of you who are not familiar with what this is, it is a kind of meditation. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. But I want to just give you an overview, a very quick overview of some misconceptions about yoga and meditation in general. So, what is yoga? What is meditation? So, when we talk about yoga to say the general public in the Western world, people often jump to the sort of the movement part of yoga. So, the hatha yoga, right? But yoga is not just a physical exercise. Yoga is actually a whole way of life. And in fact, the root word yush, uh, it really means to yoke, to unite. And so, what yoga really means is about joining the individual consciousness with the universal consciousness. So, really understanding that oneness, that connectedness to all things. And so, when we get to that experience, we call this awakening or enlightenment, right? And so the physical part of yoga is only one small part of helping us to get to that realization, right? That to realize that we are not separate, but we are united and we are one. And meditation is a tool that will help to get us to that self realization. And so the physical part of yoga is part of, if you like, the progression or um, tools, if you like, to help our bodies get ready for meditation, which can help us to attain self-realization. And of course, this is a very simplified explanation of what yoga and meditation is about. It's actually there, many ways to realization, and I'm not going to get into all the details here today because I want to focus more on Yoga Nidra and iRest, which is what I teach. But yeah, so just very simply, I just want to say that yoga and meditation or yoga is a way of life, and if you like, meditation kind of is a tool to help us to achieve yoga, which is the realization that we are one. Okay, so what is Yoga Nidra and iRest? So first of all, Yoga Nidra is an ancient practice. It's been practiced for over 5,000 years. And iRest or Integrative Restoration is an adaptation of Yoga Nidra. And so Yoga Nidra, if we just look at the words for a moment, yoga, like we said, is to become awakened, right? So it can means awake, and nidra actually means sleep. So yoga nidra is actually a little bit of a play on words because you put awake and sleep together. So what does this mean? So what this really means, some people are translated to the sleep of the yogi. But what it really means is to be awake, right? To be aware that this realization that we are connected to all things, even as we sleep, nidra. So another way we can translate this is that yoga nidra means being awake and conscious through the different stages of consciousness. So it doesn't matter, where you're at, whether you're awake and engaging with the world, or whether you're sleeping. And even sleep, there are different stages of sleep, right? So across all the different states of consciousness, you are awake to the knowing that you are connected to everything. So iRest is a form of Yoga Nidra. And I mean, there are many benefits to Yoga Nidra, to iRest, and things like relaxation. It helps to calm the nervous system. It helps to for us to feel less stress, feel more resilient. So there are a lot of things, and in fact, iRest has been studied for over a decade now, and it's been used in the military, in the VA, the veteran programs in the U.S., but I think also in various countries across the world as well. They're expanding, and it's been used to help treat PTSD, insomnia, anxiety, stress, chemical dependency. And so, there's quite a lot of research behind iRest, the method of iRest. But why, so why do you think, or why is it so effective at treating these conditions? So for one, a lot of these conditions are linked to a dysregulated nervous system, right? And in fact, the level of stress that we feel is really connected to our perception of the stress, right? So there could be an external stressor that triggers something within us, and then our internal reaction kind of gives us this perception of whether we are safe or whether we're under threat, and how we need to respond or react in that given moment. And so when we are under chronic stress, our nervous system is on high alert all the time. And so something small can trigger a big reaction. Whereas if our nervous system is regulated and we feel safe most of the time, right? And then when something happens, when a stressor, or an actual threat occurs, then we will have more space to respond. So instead of just reacting unconsciously, we're able to tap into, or we're able to catch ourselves a little bit earlier, so that we can have some space and awareness of what's happening and how is the best way to respond. And so iRest teaches us, I mean, for one, it does help with relaxation. It helps to downregulate or calms the nervous system so that we have more space to respond rather than react. Now, iRest is also, because it's coming from Yoga Nidra, it's a whole philosophy of life. It teaches us how to gain a new perspective to deal with our daily stresses. So on the one hand, it helps to downregulate our nervous system, but on the other hand, it also helps us to prepare for future challenges, right? It gives us a sense of inner peace. It gives us a sense of inner safety. It gives us the tools to help us to find that inner safety so that we can respond to future challenges in a more constructive way. And as we continue with this practice, what you'll find is that iRest also helps to point you to your sense of purpose in life. It helps you to build self-trust, self-acceptance, compassion, self-love. All of these things are immensely important to build a good relationship with yourself, because I think most of us don't have a very good relationship with ourselves. And when we don't have a good relationship with ourselves, we can't have a good relationship with others. That's just the way it is. And so this is why when people come wanting to find real connections, to improve current relationships and so forth, I always still point them back to themselves, because a lot of the stresses, a lot of the frustration, annoyances, and triggers by other people are actually pointing to things that have not been resolved within ourselves, and hence it's coming out as all sorts of emotions, frustration, disappointment, whatever it is. And so when we're able to work on ourselves, improve the relationship with ourselves, the relationship around us will also improve. iRest also helps us to break out of old cycles and start to build a healthier life for ourselves. So like I said, there's a whole way of life, and this is why it can be so transformational. Now, one of the things that I want to focus a little more on today, so there's a lot that we can talk about around Yoga Nidra and iRest. We don't have enough time to go through, all the amazing benefits and all the science and philosophies around the whole practice. But I want to focus on one thing here, because this is something that comes up a lot. And that is, a lot of people come to see me because there's something that they want to change, right? Their current situation is not optimal right now. Then it might be lifestyle changes. It might be stress that they're experiencing. There might be relationship issues. Whatever it is, there's something that doesn't feel right in the moment. Now, a lot of the time, people will look at what it is that I can fix right now. So if I'm not feeling healthy, maybe I just need to change my diet. Maybe I just need to change my lifestyle, and I'll exercise more. And they just want tips, right? What can I do to change my life now, to shift out of what I'm doing to feel healthier or eat healthier, or if I'm not sleeping, what do I need to do to get more sleep? So people come in with problems, right, that they want to fix, or they perceive that that's what's causing them suffering, or that's going to help solve their problem, right? Now, what I find is that it's actually, or I believe it's actually more important to go a little bit deeper and to understand what it is that is driving these intentions for change. So of course, it's going to be good to look after your body, right? And that means to sleep well, to eat well, to move and exercise and all that good stuff. That's important. But what's driving this desire for change? And I think that it doesn't mean that you have to understand the root cause before you start, implementing good lifestyle changes. They can happen at the same time. But what I'm seeing is that if you just focus on those, surface problems, I've just changed my diet, this and that. Oftentimes these changes are not long term. And that even if you're able to implement these changes, you'll find that there'll be something else that's calling for your attention, because you still don't feel right. There's still something missing. You haven't fixed the root issue. So I think that it's important to look a little bit deep and see what's driving all of these intentions for change. And to do this, it's quite uncomfortable, because now we have to turn our attention inward and look into what is actually troubling us. And this is usually it's quite uncomfortable to do, right? And as far as I know, you can really do this work only via meditation. The reason why we react to certain situations, the reason why we even get triggered by people or circumstances or other triggers in our lives, is because we have been conditioned to feel these emotions, to react in certain ways. And if you would like to think of it as, all the way since childhood and before childhood, all our experiences, our parents' experiences, our grandparents and other generations before us, their experiences, and we talked about trauma last week. trauma, all of that kind of, and the good stuff too, right? Everything, all that energy gets passed down from generation to generation onto you. And then, of course, you have your own experience, your experience with or relationship with your parents and other people close to you while growing up. All of these things become sort of like memories that's stored in your body. They leave impressions on you. And in yoga, or the Sanskrit word for this, we call this samskaras. So when they first form, when the samskaras first form, they're not very deep, right? But if you experience them over and over again, when you, for instance, in your childhood, every time you laugh too loud, your parents get upset because you're making too much noise, right? The first couple of times, probably wouldn't bother you too much, and you might still go ahead and laugh out loud, right? Because you don't remember to be quiet. But over time, if this is the conditioning or this is the reaction that you get from your parents when you laugh out loud, then you're going to start to contain it, right? You're going to learn to contain it more and more. Up to a point where it even becomes unconscious to you. You find something really funny, but you don't know how to express it, right? Or you've been told not to express it, so you've shut that down. And so, over time, that's just one example, but many things happen. We learn many things from our environment as we're growing up. It doesn't have to be, explicitly said and say, you cannot do this. We pick up a lot from gestures, the energy from the people that are around us. Kids pick up a lot of non-verbal cues, and they can be impressions, right? They can become our samskaras, our conditioning, our programming. And so we, from very early on, learn what it is that is okay to do, what isn't okay to do, what we can express, what we can't express, or how to express certain emotions and feelings. What is okay, what it isn't okay, right? So all of these things, we kind of learn them as we're growing up, and they become unconscious to us. And of course, there are other events, or maybe even traumas, big T traumas or small T traumas, that can influence the way that we are, our personality, our character, our nervous system for sure, right? So how safe we feel in an environment, we learn that as we're growing up. And so we could learn to be chronically stressed and have sort of a hypersensitive or hyperactive nervous system and react in certain ways. Or we might grow up in an environment where we feel safe and we're well regulated, right? So the reason why I'm saying this is that when we react to certain situations, these are automatic. So if we don't think about it, we're just going to react the way we've always reacted. It's not even conscious to us. Now, meditation helps us to inquire into these automatic programming. So instead of just falling back into our, going into autopilot, we learn to catch ourselves and go, okay, I'm feeling this. So you're paying attention to yourself. I'm having these emotions, or I'm having this thought, or I'm having this sensation in my body. Instead of going into that automatic programming, I'm going to pause here, and I'm going to turn attention back onto myself and see what that's about. And then from there, you can have a different reaction. You can have a new understanding about that situation, and that allows you to react in a different, or respond in a different way. Now, because these conditionings are usually, they run so deep, we have been deepening these samskaras, if you like, for our whole life. It's not easy to just, pull ourselves out and go, oh, I'm just going to, from now on, do this new thing. It's going to take time, and initially it's going to take effort because you're literally you're running against what feels natural to you. Okay? So yes, at the beginning it's going to take a little bit of effort, but the goal here is to start creating new samskaras, start deepening those new samskaras, and then when the same situation happens, instead of falling back to old patterns, you are now able to more easily go to the new pattern that you're trying to form. And when you do that enough, that becomes your new conditioning, if you like. Now the brain and the body feels it's easier to go to the new route rather than the old one. And then when you get to that stage, it's no longer conscious to you, right? That becomes your unconscious, right? The new conditioning becomes your unconscious reaction. And so this is what we try to do in meditation, is to go back, re-examine our programming, our conditioning, and figuring out what actually is helpful or useful to us in our current lives, and how we can go about breaking free from these old cycles and building a healthier way of life for ourselves. Now, so meditation can help us do that. So why Yoga Nidra meditation? Well, the thing is, when we get to deeper levels of consciousness, we are actually more receptive to suggestion. So, this is in a way how hypnotherapy works, right? They bring you down to a lower state of consciousness, and then the hypnotherapists give you suggestion that gets sort of implanted in your mind, and it helps you to form new habits or to break out of old ones. So Yoga Nidra actually works at much deeper levels than hypnotherapy. And unlike hypnotherapy, where the therapist puts suggestions, right, or offer suggestions to you, Yoga Nidra really works with your own intentions. So you're the one who sets the intention of what it is that you want to plant deep into your consciousness. And over time, if we keep nurturing these practices, so we make these practices consistent, it's gonna bear fruit. It's gonna become our actions, because all our actions actually originate from a thought. We can't act unless the thought was there to act. And so the further down that you can put this thought in your consciousness, so your subconscious, your unconscious, and then it's going to feel more natural, or it's going to help that intention to grow. And so, this is why I joked in my description. It's sort of like if you've seen that movie Inception, right? You're really planting a thought deep within the consciousness, so that it's going to arise and come into your conscious mind and eventually into action. And in this way, this is why Yoga Nidra can be so effective in so many different illnesses and disorders and conditions. We can really rewire our nervous system, our neuronal patterns and pathways. We can alter the way that we like to think. And we can start bringing the body back into harmony. So there are so many other things that, I can potentially talk about here. I've got lots of notes and I'm just sort of scheming through them at the moment. So what else do I want to talk about here? So I have, so another thing is prana. So prana is the life force energy that's within us. And a lot of the times people think that the breath is prana, right? It's not exactly true because you can breathe, but that doesn't mean that you're moving prana. So prana does come in with your breath, but it's not just simply the movement of air that's moving back and forth. There's a life force energy that you are breathing in and breathing out. And it is believed that prana is what can restore our whole body, our physical body, mental body, emotional body, and can help us to attain awakening. Now, Yoga Nidra, another amazing thing about Yoga Nidra is that it's a practice that really gets your body deep into relaxation. And in fact, we do Yoga Nidra, traditionally we do Yoga Nidra lying down, sort of in Shavasana. And so your body and mind are in a deep state of relaxation. And when we can get the body to rest, get the mind to rest, then prana can work. I say this is because when we are constantly thinking and when our minds are busy, which a lot of us struggle with, is monkey mind, a lot of mind chatter, that uses up a lot of prana. So this is why, another way why meditation can be so restorative, not just to the mind, but to the whole body, is because when we can start to cultivate a practice where we're able to not pay so much attention and use up so much energy in our minds, we can start we start to free up some prana that can work in other areas. And so if your physical body needs restoring, when you're in a deep state of relaxation in both body and mind, and you have that excess prana, now the prana can go in to work on your physical body. When your physical body has been restored, the excess prana can be used to restore the more subtle layers of your body, and eventually it's going to help you to reach enlightenment. And so this is why with Yoga Nidra, it almost feels like you're doing nothing. You're lying down, you're guided through a meditation, your body's in deep relaxation. And then the restoration kind of happens on its own. The prana will go where it needs to go. And so over time, this practice can be very restorative. And when you feel healthy in body and mind, now the excess energy can be used for self-inquiry, right? We can build a strong foundation of inner peace and trust and safety within ourselves, such that we can now start exploring what makes us feel uncomfortable. Because like we said last week with traumas, that the only way is through the trauma. You can't be going around the trauma and expect it to heal. This is what we're doing with Yoga Nidra, is cultivating a state where we can now go through and look at what it is that we need to resolve and face these difficult emotions or thoughts or beliefs or feelings, so that we can help them help ourselves to release all the things that we have been holding to, and they could be unconscious, right? We are holding a lot of emotions, impressions, a lot of things we hold on in our bodies without us even consciously being aware. And so meditation helps to bring this focus inward and start to address some of these issues that are causing us suffering. And when this happens, we're no longer afraid of our emotions. We feel less stress. Overall, we feel less reactive. We're no longer bound by our emotions. We can have emotions, we can feel emotions, we can experience them fully without being afraid of them. And that in itself is a huge liberation. And in doing so, we're going to understand ourselves and have a different appreciation of ourselves. And from this place of, self-love and compassion and trust, we can have better relationships and form deeper and more meaningful connections to those that are around us and to some of the most important people in our lives. So I'm going to wrap it up here. There's so much that I could talk about with with Yoga Nidra and meditation, yoga in general. If you want to find out more, you can definitely reach out to me. I'd be happy to share more with you. Or you can join me for our weekly Sangha sessions, which happens on Sundays at 4 p.m. Pacific time. And we just dive well, it depends. Week to week, we have different topics or themes that we talk about, but it's a way for everyone to come together to talk about maybe some of the challenges that they're experiencing in your day-to-day life, and we can reframe your thinking or your perspective from an iRest or Yoga Nidra perspective and give you some tools as to what we can start doing to help you shift out of old conditioning, build new healthy programming for yourselves so that you can live life with more joy and less suffering. All right, so I will see you guys back next week on Tuesday. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Bye now.